So it's been tough holding XDC network over the last 12 months. I'll give you that. But this headline popped across my feed a few days ago. XDC network partners with T-Hub to boost blockchain adoption in India's financial sector. And on the surface, it may not sound that exciting, but you guys know how I like to do it around here. Once I dug into what this T-Hub was really about, oh man, it made me look at the past 12 months for XDC. I'm all right. I'll wait because things are brewing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new, welcome to another edition, a Monday edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. Did y'all see Bitcoin crack 69,000 this weekend? Ooh, I was excited. I thought the bull run was about to commence. I still think we're in a bull market, but if you've never seen Bitcoin on a surge, it's a thing of beauty. But today we're going to focus on the XDC network, guys. Before we get into this really good, though, I want to share this with you. I've been in the space since 2019. I've researched over 1,000 digital assets, and I run this channel. I host this show strictly to share that information with you. Recently, I put together a little bit of that into this document here, which you can get by clicking the link in the description under DHN Crypto Starter. Don't worry, it's absolutely free. There's some affiliate links down at the bottom, but that's not the important part. This is years of research, tools, and perspectives to look at the crypto space with that'll help you navigate. Because if you're new, I remember all the faces and the big numbers and the bright colors. I just simplified it for you. That's all I'm here to do. Now let's jump into this news, guys. Like I said, this is quite interesting, partnering with the T-Hub. Excellent photo there. Well, let's hop into these first two paragraphs because that's always the juiciest portion of the article. Now, on October 17th, XDC Network announced a strategic partnership with T-Hub, India's largest incubation center to support and nurture Indian Web3 startups. This collaboration will harness the strength of both XDC Network and T-Hub to help businesses implement scalable, efficient, and regulatory compliant blockchain solutions, accelerating the digital transformation of India's financial system. If you don't know, please look into what India is doing in the realm of digital finance. Everyone likes to bring up the ISO 20022 discussion. They've been ISO. They've already made that switch. They did it in 2019. There's a little context for you. Now, through the partnership, XDC Network will provide its robust Layer 1 blockchain tech to over 25 plus enterprises and enable them to seamlessly integrate financial services into their blockchain applications. In addition to this, Indian startups operating across Web3 infrastructure, AI, DeFi, Web3 gaming, DePIN, and more will also gain access to tokens on the XDC network, enabling them to leverage blockchain technology for secure, low-cost transactions. I love how especially recently, going back to the whole SBI VC trade, when XDC has partnership announcements, you'll notice how whoever is involved explicitly states they're going to be running on XDC. They're going to make use of XDC network tokens. And this means big things for projects like Plugin that's running on XDC, Prime Numbers also still running on XDC, and maybe even Globiance will get the attention it needs to get through situations like this. Now, another addition XDC has made is this lady, Sunny Mohanty. We're going to get to know her a little bit later in the video. I got a couple clips here when we go into a couple new additions to the XDC network from the last couple of weeks. But we need to look into this T-Hub here because to add a little more context, this is the new XDC we're dealing with. XDC subnets are here. XDC 2.0 is here. And with 2.0 and subnets, XDC, its utility, its level of utility is now exactly where it needs to be for enterprises. In addition to that, what came along with this 2.0, these subnets, is the XDC 0. This is an interoperability leg to it, if you will, that will allow the XDC network to be compatible with as many chains as it needs to be compatible with. I'll put it that way. So if you watched the episode we did last week when we broke down the potential of XDC subnets, you'll understand we have an avalanche of potential here. Pun very much intended. So when I go over to T-Hub's website, very impressed. And would you look at the marketing, man. It's absolutely beautiful. They hit you right in the face with it. But as they say, T-Hub is India's leading incubator for Web3 and digitally focused startups. And I'm like, okay, impressive website. Very impressive statistics here. Over 400 international connects, 200 mentors, 100 plus value partners. All right, let's take a look at some of these partners here, because if you look at the top of the screen, they got it broken down. Corporate, government, investors. Let's take a look at the investors here. Right? Some names you may or may not be familiar with. Dallas Venture Capital. This is the one that stood out to me because I immediately assumed, okay, is there a Dallas in India? I ain't been to India. I don't know. No, it's not a Dallas in India. There's a Dallas in Texas, though. And that's where Dallas Venture Capital is actually based at, one of their primary offices. The other primary office is in Hyderabad, India. So looking at that, it brings up a little bit of a geopolitical discussion, which in a second, we're definitely going to go that route. But India likes to kind of play both sides. They want to keep their alliances with the East intact as well as their alliances with the West. So I also noticed in the list of government, enterprise, and investor and corporate relationships that there were firms from both sides of the world here. It's very interesting, right? Now we go over to their government affiliations. Have to really look into these names. Digital India Power to Empower. That seems interesting. But whenever I see the European Commission, that flag and those pillars behind it, I immediately think of the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure. This thing has been around since 2019, and all EU member states are a part of it. EU is also the ones that are pushing for this MiCA regulation for crypto. It's their own digital asset framework. And if they've had their own blockchain services infrastructure since 2018, man, anybody working in the EU or close to it, you definitely got some clearance, right? But things really got exciting when I went over to the corporate directory. Oh boy. Now, this is a list of partnerships, affiliations, associations. You got some big names here. Amazon Web Services, Meta, Experian. That's very interesting. I would really like to look into the National Payments Corporation of India. I'm pretty sure they're tied in deep. But it was actually this company here, Apollo Tires Limited, as well as ITC Limited. Amongst the massive names that are on this list, and we can keep scrolling, Microsoft, right? UST is another one. As a matter of fact, we'll start there because UST has been in the blockchain space for a minute, dating back to 2022. They partnered with Quant on a digital dollar project. More recently, they also worked with Project Rosaline, or as a part of Project Rosaline in collaboration with the Bank for International Settlements, Bank of England. You want to know who else was there? Quant Network, right? But here's where things go to a whole nother level, guys. And I promise I don't mean to do this, but this information is out there. And I know this is the stuff that I want to know about when I'm looking into these cryptos, because there's no other explanation for it. Who is motivated to use this stuff? Who's trading these coins behind the scenes? Who's using it? If it's really a discussion on utility, who's using it? Well, this is how you find those answers. Yes, what we're looking at is the BRICS Business Council document from this year. This was published about a week ago, and in the members section, there will be a piece of content coming out this week breaking down this document a little bit, as well as the BRICS payment system that just launched. It has just launched. I don't know if you saw that video about BRICS that I made on my channel. I would definitely look into it. It's now more relevant than ever. But as you can see here, BRICS Business Council members, Chapter 2, right? Russia, Brazil, China. Let's scroll on down to India for a second here and see if we see anything familiar. Chairperson of India Chapter, Chairman and Managing Director of Apollo Tyrus. What's that? Sanjay Puri, Chairman and Managing Director of ITC Limited. So if the T-Hub is disconnected and there's representation from BRICS involved here, I'm not looking at this as an immediate endorsement for XDC. Like XDC is all tied up into BRICS. It could very well be. The more I learn about BRICS nations, the more I realize that they're going to represent the Cambrian explosion for crypto. Mark my words. I'm just going to say that. What this does do for XDC is place it close enough to the people who are driving this digital transformation the most. And that's what intrigues me. So yeah, if you look at a chart for XDC over the last 12 months, you're down about 50%. We have been tracking XDC's price since last October in our Elite 8 portfolio, and we see that is our worst performing asset. But you have to understand here, digital trade finance is an industry that has been paper-based for over 100 years. And because it's paper-based, certain centralized parties have come to have an outsized advantage when it comes to managing that paper. You know, won't get too deep into it. I felt like we've already, taking things to a certain level. So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about the last few months for XDC. I see here in July, Dutch Telecom is now running nodes on the XDC network, waiting to see what application they decide to create on the XDC network or support. And then we have to go back to last year. Banking powerhouse SBI commits to empowering XDC. This is still one of the flagship relationships that the network has established since it's been on the market. And that's another thing. You also have to look at XDC network as a very young asset. Very young asset. Really didn't hit traction until 2022 in a bear market, when information about its use case really started to hit, people's radar. People started to really understand what trade finance was. You had the Melter rules beginning to start being talked about. The UK Digital Assets Bill, which is set to go in effect by the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. So XDC has had quite the interesting journey, but it's only an asset that's 4 or 5 years old as compared to a Stellar who just celebrated their 10-year anniversary. Ripple, again, I believe 2012. Yeah, 12-year anniversary. So comparing those, understanding those two things, XDC is very young and the trade finance industry is very old. It's going to take a minute for them to converge. But to reemphasize the point about BRICS, that whole movement is aimed at pushing that needle forward. Now, let's jump forward a little bit because I got a couple more things to show you guys. If you're finding value, by the way, hit that like button for me, guys. I try to keep these things under 30 minutes. I find so much information like this here. Purehive, who is a recent addition to the XDC network. They joined in August, I believe. And they're one of the first ones to be a part of this. Yeah, that studio look fine, don't it? Very nice. I'm feeling the bamboo, feeling the trees. Now, this is on XDC's official YouTube channel. Please go and look at it. I will share this particular interview in the community tab as soon as I am done with this. But let's jump into this clip. This is the co-founders of Purehive. They're going to tell us exactly what they're doing specifically. And then I'm going to add a little bit more context to it. It's about 40 seconds. Let's take a listen.
Yeah.
So now your focus area is any small SME who is doing business in the furniture sectors.
Yes, correct.
Right? So could be a retailer, could be a wholesaler.
Yes.
Right? So you help them with financing.
Yes. Yep.
So
Okay.
just to add on, right?
We actually have targeted several industry. In this case, first of all would be a furniture manufacturing based out in Johor Bahru in Malaysia, as well as in Muar, a small town in the north side of Malaysia. Then after that, we are looking at a cash-heavy logistic industry. Then slowly we are looking at some other very traditional business like your timber sawing association, all this thing.
If I understand. So we are.
Oh, no. Oh my God. That's the next one. We'll get to that one in a second. But Purehive has an interesting use case, guys. We got another lending platform on the XDC network in the vein of Fathom Protocol. And what I like about what they're starting with in the furniture game is what he added on at the end there is the materials side. So we're talking about companies that need financing for the extraction of wood, the metals, the aluminum, all of the stuff that would actually go into a sofa. You look at it that way, that's very interesting. That is very interesting, and it's very cool, in my opinion. And the next one is Trade Enabler. And they joined the network in September, guys. And what we have with this one is another platform. It's retail focused that allows you to verify documents on the XDC network. And this clip here is a little bit longer. It's about 2 minutes. But when I brought up, what was her name again? Sonny Mohanty. She is the head of ecosystem development and partnerships with the XDC network. Now, I'm not quite sure when she joined the squad, but if she's going to be the face of their podcast, oh man, a lot of attention is going to come to the XDC network. Just look at examples of companies, traditional brands that have jumped on YouTube and 10x their profit. Let's take a listen, man.
So we are working together. That's amazing. Okay, coming to the product itself, Trade Enabler, right? Just talk us through what exactly the problem you're trying to solve that exists today.
We focus narrow down on financial institution. Financial institution banks, especially in emerging country and small banks, have a challenge in getting correspondent banking.
Right.
And so the first one is advising a letter of credit. And we've had institutions that, we've had the software to handle the connection with the customer, as many other institutions have. But when it comes down to SWIFT, it only works as long as you get a correspondent on the other side. And usually the correspondent's role in the terms of just the narrow business of a letter of credit is to advise without responsibility on our part. So it's just to authenticate that this other institution is indeed issuing this credit in favor of X on behalf of another customer. And we felt, there's two ways of handling it. One is you have the SWIFT relationship, it's very efficient and works great. The other one is you don't have that contact or you're not even on SWIFT. And at this point, this is something that's done very manually. A piece of paper that's printed, sign, signature specimen that are sent to another institution and all of that just to authenticate the issuance of a letter of credit. So we felt this is a perfect opportunity to put that on chain with the full transparency and the authentication that is native from the chain. And even though we had that in mind, we figured that NFT on the XDC chain was an opportunity, and that's what we've done and what we've accomplished.
Well done to you and your team.
Yeah.
So very interesting use case, this Trade Enabler. They seem to be really focusing in on the digitization process of documents in general. Later on in that interview, they actually talked about a film project. Is it going to be strictly focused on XDC? Not entirely sure. All he said was it was going to be focused on blockchain and trade finance. If you're talking blockchain and trade finance, you got to be talking XDC. That's just what it is now. And even to this day, to the point I made earlier, with XDC being so young, it's still the leader. With the maybe you can maybe bring in Morpheus Network into this discussion still. And the fact that VeChain has gone so far into the green movement, they've removed themselves from supply chain trade finance, honestly. But XDC is maintaining its spot, and that's a good thing to see. Now, he also brought up Swift, and I have his name here too, Herve Lecorn. he brought up Swift. Now, I'm looking into BRICS, of course. And again, check out the members section for updates on BRICS. They represent a different narrative that's about to hit this market over the next 4 to 5 years, genuinely. But what I'm learning is the reason why things like Swift were created is because, well, yeah, Swift is a messaging system. But things like BRICS Pay and other systems like the digital yuan, they are being created in reaction to how entities like the US, the UK, and Europe using Swift for purposes not necessarily written in the paper. Again, we get deeper into it in the members section, but the picture is starting to get more clearer to me now, y'all. And the clearer the picture get to me, clearer it's gonna be to y'all. The clearer it's gonna be to the committee. Now, before we get out of here, I'd have to share this with you. I may have shared it before, but it's a picture. This is a graphic that is on my wall. I can summarize it as the quantum financial system. And you can see the assets right here above me. XRP, Stellar, Algo, IOTA, XDC. This was published in 2022 in collaboration with a gentleman that you are familiar with. If you live on crypto Twitter, you've seen this man's work before, and you've seen this graphic before. We'll shorten his name by calling him XX1133. And for some strange reason, y'all, I genuinely feel like we are getting closer to this. We are really getting closer to this, and it ain't exact. I don't expect it to be. But when I see headlines like this, Damrev announces $330 million deal to tokenize Nambian mine. They are tokenizing copper, ladies and gentlemen. And the company involved here, direct partner with Stellar. If you read through their website, they tokenize using XLM. Now, I was talking with a member of the committee, and they put me up on a token that actually just dropped on the Lobster wallet, which if you analyze this document, the Lobster wallet is also on here. We're still trying to verify if the token is associated officially, but it's copper related. It's one of 2 copper related tokens on the XLM network. The other one hasn't moved in almost a year. This one is starting to accumulate addresses. And if you'll notice this right here, the date, July 18th. If you go into the Lobster wallet, I'll just show you the site here, guys. Ooh, don't you play with me like that. Nope, I spelled it wrong. Bam. Stellar Mint. You go over here, right? There's an issue date. Once you scan this QR code with your Lobster wallet, you'll see the issue date. The issue date is July 24th. This news comes out July 18th. I bring us back to this image and these graphics here because when they first came out, it sounded crazy. It really did. But I keep seeing more and more things like this happening. XDC may not be tokenizing copper right now, but they sure are tokenizing gold through Comtech. Algorand, Folks Finance, you can trade gold and silver. I just showed you Stellar Lobster. Stellar Lobster connection right there. People have been digging up the connections between XRP and gold for years. This IOTA and Iridium thing, not entirely sure, but if you look at IOTA's rap sheet, they're definitely industrial IoT. I genuinely feel that our audience, the committee here, we've lined up with this information. That's what brings you here. Because I feel like some of you have seen this as well. and you want to figure it out, we will. We will. I'll assure you of that. But that's all I got for this one, guys. Again, if you enjoyed the show, leave a like. Don't consider it for me. Do it for crypto. All right? I've been in this space since 2019, and I've used a heap ton of crypto tools. And again, I would advise you to, one, pick up the Crypto Starter Kit. Link to that will be in the description. On top of that, in the pinned comment, the top 3 crypto tools that I have used since I've been in the space, I give that to you. And then don't forget about the membership section. I really want as many people as possible to get this BRICS information, but it's sensitive. We are genuinely talking about in opposition to the West, in opposition to the US dollar. The reason, if we're looking for where the utility is going to come from in crypto, and we obviously know that the United States is not moving as fast as they should, there's a whole coalition of nations that are coming together with the money to push forth the adoption of these technologies. So, with that, I'm done yapping, man. Don't even know how long this video is. Timer gone. But, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.